Back again with Taylor from the Gloucester Daily Times. How you doing, Taylor?
Doing all right. How about you guys?
Great. Okay, you're working on a couple big stories that you had that come out throughout the weekend. Want to touch base on that?
Yeah, so I guess we'll go from the earliest to latest. So on Thursday, I had the great opportunity to join a group of Cape Ann and North Shore residents over at Niles Beach, obviously from a distance, but got to join them as they did their daily plunge into the ocean. And now this isn't necessarily what you think about a polar plunge where people jump in and out, the hooting and hollering was definitely happening, but they taught me how to do a slow kind of descend into the water, and we sat in the water probably chest high for me 4 minutes, for them 15 to 20 minutes, and they do this every day. This is a group of people that are practicing the Wim Hof method, named after a Dutch extreme athlete who was notorious for trying to do mind over matter, mind over body, and and during extreme cold temperatures. And for these residents, it's really an opportunity for them to all of them, they get to kind of be in community, whether it's being, that 6-8 feet distance apart, but they can still be in the water together and cheer. And some of them, it's an escape. It's an opportunity to kind of clear their mind. For others, it's just the ability to see, what it is, how can they push their bodies to the limit and see, what they can achieve. And there's also, they told me that there are a few like health benefits to this practice, boosting the immune system, different things like that. And so I was just really curious to know. So Paul Bildo and I went over there on Thursday, and I definitely was a little bit cold, but it was a really great experience to learn how they do it and why they do it. So I had to prepare prior to the experience. I had to do these breathing practices, and I had to do some research on, how do I prepare my body to do it? Yeah, so I'm going into it with a really great experience. So one that I definitely suggest, I know I've already been getting emails and calls from people curious to know how they might want to get involved and do the same thing. I would say read up on it first, talk to people who might know a little bit more than you do, because again, the big thing they were saying is know your body and know when to quit, and just know that this isn't for anybody but yourself. So it was a really, really enlightening experience to be able to see that perspective on a time where we're all kind of distancing and staying inside. So be able to get outside was really great. So, yeah.
So Taylor, what was the water temperature that day? Just give us the
yeah. So it ranged from 40 to 43 degrees. Yeah, it was definitely a little chilly. It was honestly though, when I got in, it wasn't as like a shock value, but then it really wasn't that bad. What really hit me was I didn't change out of my bathing suit afterwards, so I like put my clothes on over my bathing suit and definitely was shivering a little bit. I was in my car. I was like, okay, like turning the heat up. But I mean, they go out there, rain or shine. One guy, George O'Shea from Danvers, he drives over to Gloucester every single day to do this, and it was his 107th consecutive day in the water. And so some days they do 15 minutes, some days they do 25 minutes. It really depends. And I was meeting people from, all over, all different walks of life, really, saying I met one woman who this is her second day. And it was just the smile that was showing on her face was really, I think, is cool, because it showed that this is really something that they truly love to do. And I was just curious to know why, why they value that time. So definitely considering going back, trying it again, but maybe give myself a few days. So.
Well, that's a pretty positive endorsement, that if you're willing to go back. I don't think I could even start the first time. So I'm impressed, really impressed. So there's some other big news, semi-big news in the Gloucester Times this morning. Do you want to tell us about an older story?
Yeah, so an older story turned news, a little bit of a harder topic, just in terms of the narrative. Back in 1998, there was a stabbing of a Gloucester resident named Florence Bunny Monroe, who was 50 at the time, and a convicted murderer, Barbara Goucher, who's now 54, is being released a year early than expected because of the rapid spread in the coronavirus. And so now this isn't necessarily something that's out of the normal currently right now. A lot of inmates are being released due to the risk, because people are being confined in small spaces close together. There is the risk of contamination of COVID-19 spreading among inmates, especially for those who might have, underlying health concerns. So she's scheduled to be released tomorrow on Tuesday. And so where she will be released was not disclosed to me during the time when I talked to the parole board. But that is one of those stories. I know you can find the story that Ray Lamont had written up. He'd been following the story for quite a bit of time, kind of detailing what happened that day that Bunny was murdered, but then also kind of what kind of ensued after that, the details of what happened to Miss Goucher and what's going to be happening in the future. So.
And what has been the family's response to the convicted murderer being released?
That's a great question. So Tammy ODonnell, one of Bunny's children, actually contacted me a couple of days ago, and we were able to just talk. And she was pretty enraged. She was pretty upset because they had been trying to find ways in which for Goucher to, go through the processes to be able to get different help and things like that. But for her to be notified that her mother's convicted murderer would be released, just a couple days after her getting the call, it was pretty, I think, jolting and alarming for her. And so she had said that she and her siblings were calling the governor to try to kind of let him know about their concerns, and that they really think this was an inappropriate form of actions to be taken. She said, right now they feel like the governor is the only person who has jurisdiction over, changing the decision. But yes, she didn't seem too happy about the situation at hand, and not sure what will transpire in the weeks to come for the family and for Miss Goucher, but that's kind of the latest on that story.
So I was gonna say, Taylor, what else are you working on for this week?
Yeah, so you guys might have already seen a few Facebook posts or Twitter tweets by either Chief Conley or the Gloucester Fire Department. But there are 14 ducklings that were over on Rockport Road, and they had been kind of swept into a sewer drain. And there's 4 residents who were really concerned, call the the fire department and police department, and they rushed over, and I just got off the phone with a few of the officers, and they detailed the whole experience for me to try to give me kind of a look into what was going on and how they in fact saved these 14 ducklings. But they said it's actually pretty common around this time of the year for ducklings to get in sewer drains, because the mother will walk across the grate, but the ducklings are too small and they'd fall right through, which broke my heart. But definitely a story that's coming your guys' way. And then if you guys can, definitely tune in, go to Gloucester's government website and go to the remote online meeting. There's a Board of Health meeting today at 4 p.m. And at that meeting, they're going to kind of talk about the Board of Health's response to COVID-19, but also continued conversations about the waterways, the different places accessing for boating ramps and such. And, a lot of people are wondering if they'll be able to get their boats in and out of the water. So that's going to be at 4 p.m. We're going to be covering that as well to kind of see what, the community and the government have decided upon the latest updates with COVID-19. So that's the latest on my end. I'm sure other things will develop over time, but you got some ducklings and some updates. So coming your way.
Big updates. So those are very important. Thank you so much, Taylor, for being with us again. And we'll see you on Thursday.
Yeah, have a great day, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.